With a mission to make over 1 billion people happy, how can you possibly go wrong? Stay tuned. Our next guest, David Meltzer, is going to unleash some incredible theories for you. Hey everyone, I wanted to recognize our sponsor, Traver Connect. 2 words ring true for all of us in the automotive service space: the phones. When we hear those words, we instantly all sigh. Because as much change as our industry has seen, we still get an overwhelmingly amount of calls. No need to sigh, though. That's where a good BDC comes in handy, doesn't it? I know the team at Traver Connect personally, and these guys get it. And they can help you build your service BDC. Or you can use their team to catch the calls you miss from well-trained team of agents that they have. Or have them make outbound calls and set new appointments. Give Traver Connect a call today. As they say, revenue doesn't leave a message at the beep. Welcome back, everybody, to the Fixed Ops Mastermind podcast. Today, we are excited to welcome our guest, David Meltzer. David, welcome to the Fixed Ops Mastermind podcast.
I am so excited to be here. This is a great crowd and a great topic. So thank you for having me.
Awesome. We appreciate you being here and spending some time with and sharing some of your wisdom with us. So I wanted to ask about how you got your education on money. So I had heard a story about you buying a golf course or buying land and having a golf course built by Sam Snead, which was the first one he ever designed. And that you then went on to be very successful with that, but that you leveraged against that to the point that it didn't go well. So what changed after that taught you how to not allow that to happen again?
You know, for me, number one, it was the buildup to be able to be in a position to partner in the golf course, and it became the 8th best course with Sam Snead. But what really occurred was my ego. And I know this may be a little bit obtuse, but it was seriously the ideas and the people that I surrounded myself with. I had a need to be right, which cost me a fortune. I had a need to be offended, which cost me a fortune. I had a need to be inferior, which cost me a fortune, and need to be angry, anxious, frustrated, worried, resentful, which cost me a fortune. And so the decisions that I made were in an ego-based consciousness, not in the consciousness of these 4 values. The difference in my life was I was always talented in sales, right? I have one of the number 1 private sales coaching groups. I have one of the top executive sales trainings, all the stuff in sales. I've been doing it since I was a kid, naturally. Since 24, been a millionaire, made in sales. 9 months out of law school, made $1 million selling. So sales was always my capability, but I didn't do it the right way. I believed the more I gave, the more I would receive. I didn't understand. I thought everything in the world was a negotiation, a trade. It was some sort of scarce world of either when I was a child living in a world of not enough as a victim where everything happened to me and I was always in a state of why me. Then I moved as a millionaire to a frequent world of many millionaires called the world of just enough, where everything was for me. I would give to receive, negotiate, trade to receive. But that world is a world where people buy things they don't need. They buy more things when they're not happy that they don't need. If they're still unhappy, they buy different things they don't need. And then they buy things to impress people, and even buy things to impress people they don't even like. And so moving from the world of not enough to just enough, I realized through gratitude, which gave me perspective that allowed me, no matter what pain occurred in my life, mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, financial pain occurred, that I didn't have to go to those ego-based emotions, that I could live with 1, gratitude. I could find the light, the love, and the lessons in that pain. I could find instead of being a stop sign that caused me to accelerate in the wrong direction, I use it as a turn signal to turn me in the right direction to something bigger, better, in a better situation, or make my situation better. And then 2, forgiveness. If I was going to be the hard-hitting person that enjoyed the consistent, everyday, persistent, without quit pursuit of my potential, then I was going to make a ton of mistakes, pay the dummy tax like I did with the golf course. But I was now going to forgive myself so I could live at peace. So I didn't create more interference, void, shortages, and obstacles, in which I did through that process of buying and overbuying and over leveraging. The third thing was really difficult. It was always being accountable. Because I was a lawyer, I always thought of things as liable, right? Oh, damages, you're to blame. But that just leads you to below the line living, to blame, shame, and justification. I started living my life that I'm accountable for everything in my life. What did I do to attract this to myself? What did I do in the golf course situation, or the condo conversion situation, or the ski mountain situation, or in the job situation? What did I do to attract all of this to myself? And what am I supposed to learn from it? Once again, seeking the light, the love, and the lessons, giving myself forgiveness for not learning the lessons the first time, to having failure, mistakes, and pain in my life, like everybody who is accelerating and growing should. And that led to an inspired life of living in a world of more than enough of everything for everyone, an abundant world of more than enough for everyone.
Wow. That world of just enough certainly describes a lot of people. And I can certainly see that as I can see people looking at that as being a positive. They have just enough, but I can also see the point that you're missing the abundance that is there in the rest of the world, and that if you have the more than enough, that you can then turn around and help even more people than if you have just enough for yourself.
You nailed it, right? Understanding that the more you receive, the more you can give through you, not for you or to you, but through you. So even in sales, for example, I know you have a big sales audience. One of the things I teach people is sell through your customer, right? Through yourself, through your customer, not from yourself to the customer. We sell through the customer, which exponentially accelerates the size, scope, and scale of our pipeline, the efficiencies of our pipeline, and the statistical success of our pipeline, all by selling through people. And this nuance of receiving, most people don't have a problem giving. Most people love to give. Where we really falter is we give too much and we leave ourselves or render ourselves incapable of not only providing to others, but actually providing for ourselves, accelerating, growing, learning, so that the compound interest of what we have can be the benefit of everyone in this world of more than enough.
Yeah, that is powerful. So on that same line, so you had said you were very, very successful in sales. So obviously that is in your zone of genius, if you will.
Yeah, I call it my quantum memory. I'm the LeBron James of sales. Yeah, I was born with great. If there was a size, I'd be 6'9", 250 in sales.
That's a good picture right there. And a little scary with a 6'9", 250 David Meltzer running around the world.
Yeah, that's very ugly, but yeah, very scary and very ugly. Not something I want to look at.
So in finding that zone of genius, how does someone focus in on that, and actually what can guide them to that? And do you think there's any luck involved in that?
Well, first of all, let me explain my definition of luck, because if you have a definition that I have of luck, then yes, I believe there is luck involved. To me, I have a mathematical formula of luck. And that says what I pay attention to plus what I give intention to. In other words, what I think, say, do, believe, and search for those quantum memories, that unbelievable unconscious competency or hidden genius, as you said. When I combine and aggregate all of that together, attention plus intention equals coincidence. People think coincidences are luck. I think they're a matter of what I'm paying attention to, what I focus in on by taking inventory of my values every day to know what I want, and then giving it the appropriate intention. The overarching philosophy that I have is I'm going to give everything I have to enjoy the consistent, everyday, persistent, without quit pursuit of my potential of what I want. I'm not going to be afraid of being a hypocrite and changing my mind, learning lessons and moving different directions. Not going to be afraid of that. But more importantly, I am going to be happy where I am every day. I'm going to know that I'm at the right way at the perfect time, doing everything I can to angle not direct path, but angle to what I want. But the difference of this life is I have faith that I'm going to end up somewhere better than that. So that I have so much faith that I know I don't know the totality. What I think the biggest mistake in sales and profession that people make is they just assume that they should know the totality or that they do know the totality. No, the minute you take judgment or conditions or define a portion or part of totality as whole, that you're all knowing of what's supposed to be done and where I'm supposed to be a lawyer, all this stuff. The minute you do that, you create separation. You actually separate yourself, create resistance, voids, and shortages to what you want. So I say, be happy where you're at, do everything you can to enjoy the consistent, persistent pursuit of your potential, angle to what you want, but know that you're only part or parcel of an overwhelming being, so that you'll end up with faith in a better place than you even thought.
Yeah, I have definitely fallen victim to that in my life of thinking that I should know things, and allowed my career not to go as far as it could, because I would tell myself, well, I should know this before I try to move into that next position, and that I allowed that to hold me back for a long time until I finally took the leap, and then it was like, oh wow, I know more than I actually thought that I did or gave myself credit for. And
I have two words to help people, by the way. I heard this great story. The two words to help you when you think you know everything is just remind yourself, we'll see. So
We'll see.
Classic example to me is, ask yourself, yeah, we'll see. When you're so certain of something, add in there, we'll see. Because, I love gamblers. My dad was a compulsive gambler. I learned a ton from him. But I learned to gamble like a movie, meaning gambling to me was an expense that I enjoyed. So if I'm going to spend $10 betting a 13-game parlay, it was for the enjoyment. It wasn't because I really believed that I knew these 13 teams would win or lose, right? But that's one set of gamblers, which is a small set that can just enjoy playing, which is cool by me. But where I find it so unique and paralleled to life is the gambler that literally believes they have certainty who's going to win, regardless of the point spread. Like, it just amazes me. People will justify it, but it's a classic example of what people do in their careers, in their relationships. They take a gambler's attitude instead of enjoying the expense, right? They literally think they know everything and they're living in totality, and they end up separating themselves, creating void, shortages, and obstacles, just like a gambler that actually thinks he knows who's going to win.
That is, I like that. I'm going to add that into my repertoires. We'll see.
Nice.
It sounds almost diabolical, depending on how you want to say it, but
yeah,
it is perfect.
And I know everyone's thinking about that one relative they know that's sitting there on Sunday calling them with a sure bet.
Yeah, exactly. And they're not sitting in a multi-million-dollar house and overlooking the beach.
No,
typically.
This guy sitting in the multi-million-dollar houses are my friends, like Sheldon Adelson, Steve Wynn, Tillman Fertitta, the guys who own the casinos.
Exactly.
They're sitting. Trust me, they did all that marble, gold. That stuff was built off of somebody's money and not their own.
Yeah, absolutely. So all of that gambling, everything else, all goes into patterns that people have. And so in asking about changing people's patterns, so I quit drinking about 4 years ago, a little less than 4 years ago. With drinking came a pattern or multiple patterns of destructive behavior, driving intoxicated, bad decisions, not facing problems that were real problems, impulsive behavior, and a lot of negative self-talk. And the hardest thing that, like, quitting the alcohol was the easy part. The hardest part was eliminating that negative self-talk. That it's still 4 years later still creeps itself back in. What are some steps that you take people through to change their patterns and eliminate that negative self-talk, which is so destructive?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why people in recovery normally are hyper successful, because they apply the most important part of what it takes to be in recovery to the rest of their lives, which then creates exponential acceleration, results, and growth very quickly. And so here's the 5 things that I think help people build habits, change habits, substitute habits, supplement habits, create habits, become more consistent and persistent in the pursuit of your potential without creating interferences, void shortages, and alcohol. Alcohol, I said it Freudian, right? Alcohol and drugs will cause. And look, I all but went to rehab, right? I was surrounding myself, partying so much. Fortunately, I just don't have a genetic disposition to be addicted, or I would have been in really big trouble. Like if alcohol was the way that nicotine affects me, I'd probably be dead, because I can't have one chewing tobacco dip without quitting this phone call and going to the gas station within 10 minutes. And I know alcoholics like that, right? So, but most importantly, here's the 5 things. 1, take inventory of your values every day. If you know what you want, most people that utilize the wrong habits is because they don't know what they want, so they're lost. More than the why. The why always comes when you know what you want, because it's always the next question. I'm going to repeat that. If you know what you want, the next question is why. And,
Right.
and so you're going to find your why. But too many people try to say, what is my why? I don't know. What do you want? Like, I don't know what your why is, but neither would you. So know your what by taking inventory of your personal values, your experiential values, your giving values, and receiving values. 2, very important in recovery. Ask 2 series of questions. 1, of course, how you can be of service or of value. The first thing you should do if you're having a difficulty is do something for someone else. But most importantly, ask for help. That radical humility is a huge proportionate part of creating a habit or consistent behavior. You need to find someone that's where you want to be and ask them for directions on how to get there. That's why alcoholics have sponsors, because they have the direction on where to go. It drives me nuts. So easy. 3, be a student. Use the mathematical equation of luck. Pay attention to the what every day. Don't be afraid of being a hypocrite, and give intention to your what. And the luck, the coincidences, the manifestation, you'll get what you want faster. 4 is really interesting, and it interplays within the 12 steps. And it's interesting because I call it do it now. I hate statistics. 99% of all statistics are made up. That's the only statistic that I like. But I learned 2 other statistics. 1, owning a golf course, 100% of all short putts in golf, they never go in. I've been trying to dispel that, but it's always true. And even worse, though, the most important statistic in my life now is do it now. 100% of the things I do now get done. And the difference between successful people and everybody else is successful people get stuff done. So those bad habits are stopping you from getting stuff done. If you train yourself to say, can I do this now according to my values? And the answer is yes, do it. You'll save twice as much time, be exponentially more successful. 100% of the things you do now get done. And then finally, most importantly, the biggest practice of my life is diminish the time frame in which I practice ending fear. What do I mean by diminish the time frame of when I'm practicing ending fear? First of all, the first step of ending fear in your life, there's 2 fears. Primal fears are feed, flight, fight, or the other F word. And then secondary fears, which I listed earlier, need to be right, offended, separate, inferior, superior, anxious, guilty, resentful, etc. Well, number 1, if you can identify that, you now can practice diminishing the time it takes you to get on the right track. Meaning, number 1, I say to myself, gosh, I feel I'm accelerating in the wrong direction, saying things I don't mean to my wife because I have a need to be offended or a need to be right. This could really end in really bad void shortages and obstacles like divorce and other things. Maybe I should just stop and shut up. And then 2, breathe, right? Drop, breathe, get to center, and then get back to the ferocious being that you are and roll in the right direction. Remember, when you're in ego-based consciousness, whether it's primary or secondary, you literally are on fire. Your mind, your body, your soul are on fire. When you're on fire, recognize you're on fire, and then stop, drop, and roll. And those 5 steps will guarantee give you the habit, the consistent, persistent behavior, but not only giving you consistent, persistent pursuit of your potential by knowing your what, but most importantly, it allows you to enjoy it with gratitude, forgiveness, and accountability. And if you can enjoy it, you'll live in spirit or an inspired life with less interference, voids, and shortages to what you're already connected to, the greatest source of light, love, and lessons, the source of all, whatever you want to define it, God, Buddha, Muhammad, Joseph Smith, I don't care. It's all there for you, but you're already connected to it. So use it, allow it to come through you with appreciation for others.
Yeah, it absolutely makes a giant difference in your life when you start to accept that that there is something out there greater than yourself.
Yeah, like allowance.
Yeah. So you talk about at a minimum when you talk about things, and not talking about I need X, I need X at a minimum, and manifesting what you want. Can you talk a little bit about the at a minimum, how that manifesting, how that phrase matters within manifesting?
Yeah, I think that, a lot of times if we're trying to speak at a level, we want to speak at the level that understands the language we're speaking at. So when we're manifesting, we're trying to raise our frequency or speak at a higher level to a higher source of, hey, I want access to this abundant world. I'm living between infinity and limitlessness. I'm trying to speak here. Well, a lot of times we're speaking to that world in the wrong language. So we use man-made constructs of amounts and times. The universe does not understand 1 year. It's infinity. So don't say I want $1 million in 1 year. Say I want to double as much money as I can as fast as I can. The universe knows expansion and abundance. It doesn't know limitations. So for me, if I set objectives or criteria or action items for myself, I'll spend a minimum of 30 minutes with my wife, or I want a minimum of this. I'll give you a good example how I never felt I was limiting myself. I was born on January 11th at 111. I call it the sign of the angel. It's my lucky number. So I told my son, and I was telling Diane Cannon, who I shared my Lakers seats with, I told her, I'm going to live. I told Miles, my son, I'm going to live to 111. So don't worry. I'm going to die at 111 like I was born on January 11th. It'll be all ones. I'm letting, so don't worry until we get close to there. That's when I'm going. And Diane started to tear up. I said, what's the matter? She goes, why are you limiting yourself? She goes, what if we have medical advancements that people live to 1,000 or 10,000 years? You're manifesting dying at 111. You could have spent lifetimes with Miles. And yet here you are using man-made constructs of beliefs that aren't really true to limit yourself. And here we go with technology, realizing, gosh, maybe she was right. So I always say I'm going to live a minimum of 111.
I love that. David, your Free Friday trainings, which I know are very close to your heart. I took part in one of those a couple months ago, and I'm grateful to be able to have asked you a question and gotten your answer. Tell everybody about those trainings.
So I've been training for free for over 20 years. Now with the advent of Zoom, we have over 20,000 registrants and millions of people watch the Spotify feature of it every week. It's featured on Spotify, Entrepreneur, all the platforms. But those trainings are to meet a mission of mine, which is to empower over 1 billion people to be happy on earth, to create a collective consciousness of happiness, to truly live an abundant world where there's more than enough of everything for everyone. And I'm looking for 1,000 people like you, Dave, that I know in your lifetime will empower 1,000 to empower 1,000. 1,000 times 1,000 is 1 million. 1 million times 1,000, 1 billion. I can empower over 1 billion people. If you believe, like I do, that I can empower 1,000 people like you to go ahead and transcend that to 2 generations as well. And so that's my mission. I do trainings. I give my books for free, my exercises, and my guides. People can email me, david@dmeltzer.com. I have private sales groups as well. I do anything I can to empower people to do 3 things. I want everyone to make more money, because this is an abundant world. Money's just a currency. It's an object of energy you put into the flow to get what you want. I want you to help more people. Let's not separate ourselves. The tree has no branches. One branch should not fight against another. Let's join together, unify, appreciate the similarities as well as the differences of how we can help each other. And then finally, have a lot of fun, be happy. So make money, help people, and be happy. And that's why I do the trainings. They're 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern every Friday. Replays are featured on Spotify, Entrepreneur, every platform. The Playbook has all of the trainings there as well.
That is awesome. And that is definitely something that people need to get in and find a way to be there and take advantage of those. Because it is incredible value that you are giving everybody, and it is an awesome mission to empower 1 billion people. That takes some large thinking to come up with a number that big. I love that. David, thank you so much for joining us here on the Fixed Ops Mastermind podcast. This was an awesome time.
Yeah, awesome interview. Thank you so much. Be happy.
Thank you, David. Take care.
Take care, Dave. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Another information-packed session of the Fixed Ops Mastermind podcast is in the books. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your support. Remember to download Fixed Ops Mastermind podcast on your favorite podcast app and to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. We thank again our sponsors, Dynatron Software and Traver Connect. Make sure you guys visit them. They've got some incredible products to help your dealership excel. Until next time, thanks for joining us. Dynatron Software is also an important sponsor for the Fixed Ops Mastermind podcast. As both technology and the auto industry continue to evolve, every dealership needs to ask themselves a very important question. Am I in the forefront or stuck in the past? Dynatron Software offers the latest in data analytics, business tools, and pricing optimization. Contact them for more info. Sales@dynatronsoftware.com.